What's up, everyone? It's Try here. Just wanted to hop on. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, but I did think the environment that we're in right now warrants a video. That has nothing to do really with business or anything. I typically do stay away from political posts, but I feel like the environment has gotten so bad, with all the violence that's been going on, with all the dialogue that's been going on, that I felt like I needed to hop on and say something. And we have a special election coming up as well. And that's, I think, very important to voters. And that is on Prop 50. So did want to hop on here and just let folks know that I am in support of Prop 50. I am saying yes. I know that there's a lot of opinions on it, and but I was really convinced about it when I saw Congressman Kevin Kiley, who's not far from here. He was, I guess, raised in Rockland, and he's now a congressperson, and he's coming out and speaking on a lot of topics suddenly. And I don't know the guy. I've never heard of him. I've heard of a lot of other politicians in the area. I've been, I grew up here, so. And it just reminded me of the disconnect between politicians and people. And so I kind of voiced my opinion a little bit. I post every now and then, and some of you may see it, some of you may not, but it's typically off my Facebook page. Typically I'm on Threads, I'm on Twitter, I guess they call it X now, and but not usually on my Facebook. But I try to keep stuff off of Facebook unless it's important. I think this one's important because I'm seeing the feedback as I post, vote. This is why I'm voting yes on 50. Kevin Kiley reminded me of it. I immediately got a couple people saying, and I've got the receipts. If you don't believe me, I've got the screenshots. But immediately you've got bigots coming out and saying things. I don't know how many times I've heard people say, "I'm going to call ICE on you," or say that, and or I got this guy right now calling me an invader and things like that. And I don't know what that does, what that's supposed to do, but I just want to let people know, for certain people like myself, that does nothing for me. It doesn't intimidate me. It's not a productive conversation. I find it to be a little bit uninformed, because, and I don't need to go into all that. I'm not going to need to sit here and let people know where I come from. I really want to see people's reaction, just from my face and me saying what I need to say. And I found that it's not been well received, and I don't think for good reason, right? I mean, if you're just saying, hey, he's Asian, so he must not belong, he needs to self-deport, I'm going to call ICE on you, that type of thing. We're in an environment where people feel a lot more emboldened to say things like that, I've noticed, than historically, that I've seen, at least in my lifetime. And so I think that's concerning. And so I want to speak on that and let folks know, like, hey, Prop 50, long term, it reverts back to a special election commission. That's what it does. Initially, of course, it allows our politicians to redraw the maps. You've got Arnold. You've got Arnold's financial backer, I guess, Charlie Munger's son. Who I'm a big fan of Charlie Munger, by the way. His son, though, he said in a New York Times article he's a third generation Californian, maybe from his mom's side, but I think that's a little misleading because from his dad moved from Omaha, so. Oh, and his dad's a super Republican. I love his dad, Charlie Munger, even though he's Republican. I have a lot of Republican friends. I got a lot of Republican family. I've voted Republican before, and so it has nothing to do with that, Republican or Democrat. I vote where I see is right and what I believe in strongly. But the thing I don't like, that motivates me actually to say something more is when I say something small and people explode on me. Like if I post, hey, this is my reasoning, or I'm saying this, and then someone immediately assumes that I don't belong, or says something that's very bigoted or racist, that actually, for me, it motivates me to say something more. And it pushes me to say something more because, look, if I'm experiencing that, other people are experiencing that, and that's not okay. So I know we're in this age of, hey, forget about DEI, and there's this, push against it. I really do want to say, I don't think that if, people should feel so confident and overconfident. I'm saying people right now that I'm seeing is people on the right. Very overconfident because they want all swing states. You've got the president repeating that. They've won all swing states, blah, 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 right? The margins were very thin. So, it falls within, I guess, a margin of error. And so every single state, or many of the states, fell into this margin of error where to me, it's not, it could have been a fluke that all went that way, right? But the point is, it was very razor thin margins. Even the majority vote, okay, that was claimed is a very thin margin. And so I think it behooves our country right now in gridlock with budgets not being passed to really work with one another and listen to one another. And it's easy to say, I guess hard to do, but people aren't talking. And I think from what I see, there's a big overconfidence from the right now. And why not, right? They have the Senate, right? They have the House, they have the judiciary, all three branches of government, and a dominating kind of hand right now. And so, I get where a lot of that confidence is coming from, but I think it's a problem when there's overconfidence. And I'm seeing a lot of overconfidence, a lot of people popping off saying a lot of things that, they wouldn't say normally. So I don't know what's gotten into folks to feel emboldened to say certain things, but I would just say, be careful what you assume, about people just because they look of a certain race or religion or whatever it is. Be careful what you say, because people are getting fired over it. I think it's Ingracia or something recently said something that these racist texts, right, group texts, you can get demoted because of it, and fired because of it. And the same thing on the other side. I guess there's an elementary school teacher or something that was faking a gunshot wound, and she got fired, right? So, we really have to control our emotions, right? And not everything that, and not assume so much about the people saying it, I'm going to be honest, like I said, I voted both sides. So when I say certain things, it's what I think. It has nothing to do with party or race or religion or anything. So when people start attacking me, though, then I start, if I say something and people are immediately are like, hey, you libtards or something like that. Yeah, then I begin to say, okay, well, maybe I am a Democrat then. Maybe I'm a liberal. I'll claim that, And then once people start saying, I'm going to deport you and things like that, I'm going to call ICE on you, and they have no idea about my background or about me, it's a big assumption. And I think it's a very uneducated thing to say. I think it just motivates me to speak out a little bit more. This must be very important for people to, just because I say what I think, for people to start becoming racist and bigoted, right? Not okay. So I would say to my California people, please vote yes on 50. I'm a strong believer in it. It's going to revert back long term to a special commission to as we have right now, okay, to make sure there's no gerrymandering, okay. But right now, the push for it is due to what happened in Texas with Greg Abbott and the Trump administration pressuring Abbott to essentially redraw the maps to add 5 House seats. And so, I've kind of been conflicted about it. I've read both sides of the argument, and I've kind of tested it in forums and things like that. And when Kevin Kiley came out and was like, hey, and started speaking on issues that I cared about, and, I thought it was right, actually, I just felt like, what a disingenuous person for coming out so late and talking about this when his job is on the line, and now he's saying no on 50 and stuff like that. It's like, where were you a year ago or whenever you were elected? I mean, why are you coming out on the eve of the vote, and doing that? And so that's my issue, and that actually made me want to vote yes on 50, and that's been my logic, right? That's how I arrived to that. And then to of course, I think I should be able to say that without getting attacked. But for me to say that, and then I get sort of xenophobia and racist sort of taunts hurled back at me, I find that ridiculous. Okay, so chill out. I mean, these are my thoughts. I think when you do that to somebody just for expressing their thoughts, you further alienate them. Okay, and so I hope that we have better dialogue. I hope we have better things like more respect for one another and our viewpoints. But I thought I'd share this because it is, I think it's pretty important to be able to fight back to gerrymandering or attempts at gerrymandering, and mid-cycle. I mean, I think, why do you have to cheat in order to win, and why the timing now? I've never heard of such a brazen attempt at gerrymandering, and so that's concerning to me, and so should California do it in response? I mean, I don't believe, I'm not a strong believer in gerrymandering, but I do believe in what's the other extreme? If we don't gerrymander and Republicans or red states continue to add seats just by redrawing their maps, and imagine if every single blue state had this special map drawing committee that prevented any of that, and the blue states were the only ones who had that. They'd be stuck. They'd be at a big disadvantage, because at any time the Republicans could completely redraw their maps and make it all red. And I know the argument on the other side is there's a lot of all blue maps that shouldn't be that blue, and fair enough. But I think I haven't heard of any complaints that, hey, so to point out Boston, but when did they redraw those? I mean, was it mid-cycle that it was redrawn? But this is happening right on the eve of the midterm. So I find that concerning. I find it concerning enough to where, hey, if we can fight back, if Californians can fight back and make that fair, it makes sense. And then long term, it reverts back to where it was before, with an election committee and all that, to ensure to prevent gerrymandering. So, so I appreciate everyone listening today, but I did feel compelled to say something after I expressed something and I got a lot of egg in the face for it, I think unfairly. And so I think that's it makes me believe in it even more. That's the best way to say it. Like, you don't need to poke at something more, that wasn't even, like, it wasn't even there to begin with, but now you've motivated me to say something even more. So just an FYI, I mean, if for the folks out there, I mean, stop saying you're going to call ICE. Stop saying to deport yourselves. If you find yourself saying that on a forum, just know, like, it's a very racist thing to say. It's a very bigoted thing to say. And for people like myself, it just makes me realize how important this actually is to people, and how important it should be to me, and how much more I should fight for it. So, appreciate everybody listening. Yes on 50, and take care. Thanks.